a lot. There has been maybe too many sexist comments I've received personally, and I never really know if people are joking, um, or if they think they're funny, because like I think things add up, and like I'll say to myself like, or I'll say out loud like, oh yeah, I'm a social justice warrior, like like jokingly to people because I care about other people, but that doesn't mean that I would like you to say I'm a really good email writer because of my degrees. Like, yikes. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't call me a secretary. That'd be nice.
Well, I think that you've certainly done a really good job letting us know your heart for leadership. And
Thank you.
I think I sort of know the answer to this question, but I would love for you to put into words yourself how you hope your legacy as a leader will look to those that follow you.
I hope that no one ever has to do what I've done. I hope a lot of what I do is to make. I think I've said this kind of before, but I don't want people to have to work as hard as I do. I'm exhausted, and I have like I have a lot of people behind me, and I have a lot of people in front of me, of course, and I've had a lot of people that I've had to go through, and I've had a lot of people that have pushed me forward, and I've had so many different experiences that have benefited me, for a variety of different reasons. But I would never want somebody to have to work as hard as I have just to get done what I've done. Because I have an extremely strong support group, and they're wonderful, and I couldn't do a lot of the things that I've done without them. But I also would never. I don't think it is.
Kaitlyn, we're really enjoying listening to you. I know
Okay.
that I am. We had another question for you.
Mhm.
Kind of making it a little more personal.
Mhm.
We wanted to know how gendered experiences had shaped you as a leader.
Yeah. So, whew, that was such an interesting question. I was looking at that and I was like, how personal, how real. So I can give a few examples. I'll try not to give any names, but back when I was an undergraduate, I had a professor who some people will hear this and they'll know exactly who I'm speaking about. But I had a professor who had said to me at one point, that if I was not content with my B, because there was no edits on the paper, if I was discontent with my B, um, then maybe I should have become a better cook and a better provider. And that is a true story. I had another professor witness it, and I nearly, whoo, that was an interesting week of email exchanges. I'll tell you that. But that was when I was an undergraduate, and I had a couple similar experiences. I had someone, I say I collect degrees, but it's usually out of spite. When someone tells me I can't do something, I kind of just say I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it really hard. Hence the multiple degrees at the same time. Like when I was an undergraduate, I had I can't remember exactly whom it was, but I had someone who said, well, you shouldn't over exhaust yourself because you'll want to be a mom one day, and you shouldn't over stress yourself out now, or you're going to exhaust your womb. And I was like, is this the 1800s? Did I just hear someone say exhaust your womb unironically? And I chuckle about it now. In the moment, I just remember thinking, well, I'm going to go get 3 departmental honors and a general honors, and I'm going to graduate with all 4 of those, and then I'm going to exhaust my womb in other ways. Um, and I like, to this day, my mom is like, why? As I said, like when she tells me to go for something, like I'm shocked because she's usually like, please stop, please, you're killing me. I'm exhausted looking at you. Um, but then like in graduate student government, I had a particular incident where, a previous member who was at the time higher than me, an executive member who had made a comment, after I told them that I was getting my master's degree in English and history, that they said, well, don't worry, when I become big, I'll hire you as my secretary. It was and like legit was said in front of a previous partner. Like there were witnesses, and I just laughed and I was like, well, don't worry, because when I hit it big, I won't hire you at all. And I remember like looking around thinking like, is this a joke? I couldn't. And so then it made me want to go even harder. And I think that's been kind of my mantra, is like, I wonder when I actually will run out of steam, because so many times I've said to myself, well, I'm doing this out of spite. And there's like a lot of pride, I think, that's built up because of that. And like you stop looking at things and you stop looking at statistics. You just kind of just like do what you have to do. But I do wonder when I'll run out of steam, because like these positions are difficult. Like they're not a joke, like I have people's lives in my hands, and like figuratively, metaphorically, of course, but also realistically. Like I have people emailing me like, I'm afraid I won't be able to afford ramen. I'm afraid that I won't be able to pay my tuition. I have to choose between rent and tuition. I have to again, that's what, like, one of the reasons I originally started up. I have to choose whether or not I want to stay in the South and at Clemson University, because I'm afraid, when we were in the era of Trump, I'm afraid because I keep seeing these MAGA hats everywhere, or I see swastikas over by Redford, or, like, and it's like these sorts of situations where, I'm also a woman in power, and I acknowledge that. Like I notice my positions, but I also notice how people speak to me and how they speak to my vice president, who's a male, and he's a black male. So like it's always an interesting dichotomy, because you're playing on like a difference of minorities here, like him having a history of having more racialized comments aimed at him, and me having more sexist comments. But we've exchanged a couple to each other, and we're like, well, big yikes, we should write a book one time. And then Dr. Thomas just did it, and we were like, okay. Like that's awesome. And she's another role model at Clemson that I've really seen have to take a lot of crud from so many different angles across campus, that to me, I think that's one of the reasons I keep up the steam, is because I see other people who have had to do it for their life. Because I may not ever be able to stop being a woman, but I also don't have the experience of having racism thrown at me. So it's such a difference to neglect to mention that would be really harsh in this environment. But yeah, so I mean, there has been maybe too many sexist comments I've received personally, and I never really know if people are joking, or if they think they're funny, because like I think things add up. And like I'll say to myself, like, or I'll say out loud like, oh yeah, I'm a social justice warrior, like, like jokingly to people, because I care about other people. But that doesn't mean that I would like you to say I'm a really good email writer because of my degrees. Like, yikes. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't call me the secretary. That'd be nice.
Well, I think that you've certainly done a really good job letting us know your heart for leadership. And I think I sort of know the answer to this question, but I would love for you to put into words yourself how you hope your legacy as a leader will look to those that follow you.
I hope that no one ever has to do what I've done. I hope, a lot of what I do is to make, I think I've said this kind of before, but I don't want people to have to work as hard as I do. I'm exhausted, and I have like, I have a lot of people behind me, and I have a lot of people in front of me, of course. And I've had a lot of people that I've had to go through, and I've had a lot of people that have pushed me forward. And, I've had so many different experiences that have benefited me for a variety of different reasons. But I would never want somebody to have to work as hard as I have just to get done what I've done, because I have an extremely strong support group, and they're wonderful, and I couldn't do a lot of the things that I've done without them. But I also would never, I don't think it is, barring whether or not you're part of like a community service organization, barring like all these other things, like as a student at Clemson, I would never want someone to have to like schedule 48 meetings in a week like I've done, or spend 16 hours in emergency COVID meetings. Like, a day. Those like, or have to sit there on a call about, you know, international students possibly losing their visas, and hearing people crying behind you as you're like the only representative allowed to speak, and I'm the only non-international student at that event, but I'm the only one able to speak. And I'm like, you know, it's just like having representation shouldn't be this difficult. And I fought really hard to try and mitigate some of that. So I hope my legacy is just one of, I guess, less fighting and more just moving like progressively forward, whatever that means. Like progress shouldn't be necessarily a political thing, but I've found that, especially when I send out my emails for graduate students, that it doesn't seem to matter what I say, it's always going to be politically charged and taken as a political statement. But I would hope that hopefully in the future that's not the case, and that honestly we stop having all these incidences that seem political when I state them. Like, you know, that would be really nice at this point.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kaitlyn, for taking the time to come speak with us and come celebrate Women's Celebration Month. We are so extremely grateful to hear about your experiences as president of the graduate government, and it was so amazing to hear what you had to say. And we're just extremely grateful.
No, I'm grateful for you guys. This is a wonderful initiative. I'm always looking forward to seeing women's empowerment across Clemson's campus. I think it's really difficult because we're constantly in a situation where we're told, what do you mean it's 50-50? There's 50% women, 50% men. Isn't that equal? I'm like, like, well, no. Just short answer, just no. That's not what that means. So I'm really grateful for you all for taking the time to reach out to me, to care to hear my story. And I'm always here to help.
Well, we appreciate it a ton, and we will definitely keep in contact with you, because I think all of us can agree that telling us about your experiences is really inspiring. And I think just staying in contact with you would be so awesome in the near future, just for like looking for advice or just needing a helping hand to talk to. And we're very thankful.
No, thank you guys. Yeah.
Wrapping it up, I would just like to say thank you for all who have taken the time to watch this podcast. I hope that you all enjoyed it, as well as learned something new today about leadership, advocating, and diversity that you can do yourself on campus, and hope that this goes forth to encourage you and motivate you to believe in yourself, to know that you can enact change. And yeah, have a great day.